Goldylocks Productions broadcasts universal cosmic frequencies that unlock, awaken, and expand the consciousness of our worldwide viewers and listeners. Explore secrets of the universe with show host Sherri Sage Zimmerman. Navigate between the worlds of both the physical and the spiritual planes of existence.
Hi, everybody. I just want to welcome everybody back. Since it was such a busy Christmas season, we have our new year happening now, 2021. So I just want to just say hello and hope everybody had great holidays. We all know there's a lot of, I guess the word would be unrest is kind of what I'm hearing, like an unrest happening in the world today as we are noticing. So, you know, I keep hoping that this show is going to keep bringing about a variety of different ideas and people's gifts, no matter what they are. I try not to pigeonhole it. I like it to be a variety of different shows of different talents, no matter what somebody's passion is. I don't care if it's a gardener or somebody who cooks. Most of the time I do have a lot of metaphysical shows on because I really am drawn to that. But I'm just kind of putting that out there for anybody that is listening to the show. If you ever did want to be a guest, you could please contact me through my website, imaginepeacenow.com. And just give me a note there if you want to be a guest. So I just want to wish everybody a Happy New Year. And today we have a wonderful lady. Her name is Michelle Michael. And Michelle does the kind of work that I'm very much in love with, which is a lot of the psychic medium work. However, she also does channeling, angel card readings, which I just discovered that she was taught by Doreen Virtue, as most of us all know about Doreen's work. She's an intuitive life counselor, a certified Reiki practitioner. And what's interesting is Michelle has been most of her time, in 30 years or plus of her work, she's been doing real estate. So it's a kind of interesting backdrop of, you know, being in the business of finding homes for people, which I always was very interested in because I just feel homes are such a sacred space. And I have the sign of Cancer in my 4th house of my astrology chart, which for those that know astrology, Cancer rules about the home and about, you know, that kind of area of our lives. So, and the 4th house has to do with our actual home itself, of the environment that we like. So homes have always been really important to me. So that kind of work is interesting, Michelle. And I just want to welcome you to the show. And
thank you, Sherri. It's a real pleasure to be here with you today.
Yeah, this is exciting. So it's really just interesting to me how you might have like crossed over from doing real estate.
Now that sounded funny. That sounded funny.
I didn't mean crossover in that way. Yeah, I know. I heard it after I said it, but I thought, okay, not in that sense. Even though, you know what, us psychic mediums, I do some of that work myself, and we do cross over all the time. We're always crossing over, getting information, right?
Yes.
So yeah, I mean that crossover as far as doing real estate to this kind of work is just really kind of interesting. And I'm going to allow you, which is what I do with most all my guests, is just kind of let you share about you, where you come from, you know, what your life's been like, and how you kind of came into this beautiful work that you're doing.
Okay, well, that's a big question. And to begin with, I'm not like a lot of other people that may have been aware of their gifts as a child or as they were growing up, maturing. I've really started getting involved in this work, being more aware of it and developing my own gifts and awareness of it probably about 7 years ago. And I just kind of fell into this and started taking classes. I've always been interested in psychics and mediumship and in all of this, but always from the vantage point of, gee, look at what they can do. I would like to be able to do that too, but never thought I was possible. to do that. I was capable of doing it. So I just was taking classes over the years, but continuing full time with my real estate career. And these classes helped to develop my gifts better. Then I started doing psychic fairs and shows, giving readings and participating in those. And so all of that practice helped for me to grow. And I was also doing a mediumship, which giving messages from a podium to people from loved ones. So all of this kind of snowballed and accumulated into me entering into channeling and taking some classes in that. And I found channeling came very easily for me. And one day in a channeling class, there was a gentleman who came through, and I thought he was for another class member. And I got home that night, and then the next day I kept hearing his name in my head. And I realized, oh, he's with me. He came through for me. So he and I just started communicating in our own way more and more. And I came to realize that he was a master teacher for me to help me through this and in learning. So my relationship with him has grown stronger and stronger. And so he's my primary person that I work with in channeling information to others. And I do channel other entities, other spirits and loved ones. But Enos and I have a special relationship, and we're very connected to one another. So I tend to do a go-to with him to begin with.
Can I just ask briefly, just because, and I know that you're real familiar, and I am, and there's a lot of people that will watch this and understand what you mean by channeling. But I always, do put it out to a lot of people that I'm connected with, just for a lot of the public that may not know what that means, where they're still trying to understand all this different names, whether it be medium, psychic, channeling. But I think the channeling is the one that I feel some people, who are not really adverse in this kind of subject. Can you just give a real brief understanding what that is for people?
Sure. And that's a good question. Channeling is where you, as the person, allow a spirit entity to speak through you. Okay? They don't take control of your body. But you, as the person that is allowing the channeling, you have your ego step back. All right, get out of the way. And so that you can allow spirit, whoever it may be, come through and be able to use the channeler's voice box to share information, to converse, to communicate back and forth. And it's different from mediumship and psychic, because mediums and psychics relay information they get. The channeler allows the spirit or whoever may be coming through to do the actual communication. So I would say that's pretty much it in a nutshell. But it does take practice and patience, because with psychics and mediums, you don't have to really tell your ego to get out of the way. You're still fully present. With channeling, it's important that you step back so that you're not trying to second guess what information is coming through, because it's not yours to try and interpret. You just put it out there.
Yeah. From a lot of it that I know from over the years of just reading and being involved in this whole field, really, I always think too, it's usually often these higher vibration entities, whether they are master teachers and they've walked on the earth, or whether they have not walked on the earth. It's usually a higher vibration. Therefore, again, you're the vessel, and it's literally them coming through you and giving the messages. And I totally understand it. It's funny because I know some people are like, what, how can that really happen? It's just amazing.
Yeah, they think it's not possible. And it's okay to think that. And it's okay to question it. And because there are a lot of people out there that do channeling, that let's put it this way, they think that they're channeling higher entities. And this doesn't apply across the board, because there are a lot of very valid channelers out there.
Yeah.
But it's also it's an easy thing to be deceptive about too with somebody.
Yeah.
So what you want to do is to just, it's okay to go in with a skeptical mind, but as information is presented to you personally or you're hearing, allow your intuitive gut to let you know, to tell you if you feel like, you know what, this is possible. This makes sense. Or you're getting evidential information that is giving some validity to it. So it's okay to have a skeptical mind. And sometimes until you actually sit with a channeler and experience and see how it's done, it's a little hard to understand. And there is also the ability to have interaction between the spirit coming through and the person asking questions. It's not just that the channeler will do a monologue and get up and give a speech or a presentation or throw out all these very wise words. In working with Enos, I have interaction with the person that is in front of me, and they feel it. They get it.
I definitely feel for most people, and this is what I say to most people, especially like I even have some people I know personally that, it does always go back. Always, it goes back to listening to your own intuition. I agree with you. Your own intuition, actually, often, if you are pretty tuned into your intuition, the stuff that's coming through, it will resonate with you, or of course it may not. But oftentimes it'll resonate, when I find most channelers that I listen to, and again, to be honest with you, we all know there's different channelers too. And so some different channelers for different people may be at some other different kind of a level of awareness, if you will, or a different vibration, if you will. And so I feel like most times you can feel the resonating, and you say, well, yeah, that I can feel that inside me, that's correct, or that makes sense. Or so, yeah, I think that's really, really a great way of distinguishing, whether or not you feel it sounds, even close to what you feel is reasonable or makes sense to you. So yeah, and then there's things you just can't deny, right? When something's said and it's so clear, like it's so personal, there's no way you can deny it. So yeah, and I do want to share with everyone before we go on, because I want to hear a lot more about you and your life. I did have a session with Michelle. I usually always have sessions with anybody I bring on, so I can get, for my own personal reason, understand how they work and how it comes through. And I'll have to say, after my session with you, I felt very good about the thoroughness, and the information, the messages that came through were very pertinent to what I was talking and asking about. And I think what I really cherished was when there was that conversation about my father's mother, my grandmother Emily. There's no way that what you shared could not have been really coming from the other side, because the way you described her personality was so tuned in to exactly the way her personality was. I mean, it was really amazing to me how so more detailed and accurate just the few things that we spoke about her, about how she would behave about certain things. Again, I don't want to get into detail about all of it, but it was really amazing. To me, that was what I cherished the most. It was just a really good, most people can kind of say anything when you're doing a medium or but when you know something about somebody that you really know well, and it's like, that's exactly how she was, it's like, for me, I can't deny it. And I've had tons of readings over the years, many, 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 for 30 something years. So, and there was always some that were definitely vague. They weren't really that, but you just know when it is a really clear and something that's really more detailed for you. So I do want to go ahead and have you talk a little bit more about yourself. But before we get too far off, because I like to, in the beginning of the show, let people know, even though we're going to have you speak more, I want people to know how to get a hold of you right away, just in case somebody, yeah, and then we'll do it again at the end of the show before we leave. So that way, 2 different times, people get to hear how to reach you to begin with. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. All right. I have a website you can go to called michellemedium.com. And you can email me at michelle@michellemedium.com. And on there, it gives explanation about my psychic and mediumship work and experience. Also ways that you can make appointments, the readings, the costs, that information. I do have a page there on upcoming events. And you may not find anything right now because I'm used to doing a lot of in-person events, but obviously that's been kind of tempered a little bit. But I am looking to grow that even more with online and Zoom events and let people know. And if you would like to join my mailing list to be notified of events, you can send me an email and just ask me to add you to it. Sherri, thank you for sharing that information because it really does help, I'm going to say us, feel, it helps us feel good that we have assisted you in some way. And so that's good. Great.
Yeah, there's no doubt for me. I mean, none of this is hard for me. And I know this is just who I am as a soul. And coming into this earth again. For me, it's just so natural to understand all this. And, of course, everybody's on their different wavelength of where they're at with their soul's evolution. But for me, it just really so makes all of it is just, I have so much memory of being on the other side before I came in. Not all of it, but a lot of it. And I think that's kind of what helps me to be. It doesn't mean that I still don't recognize when some are, I don't feel really tuning in. I do recognize that, but I feel that I know that when you know truth, when you feel truth, you feel truth. There's no way of really, because it does something inside of you. It literally triggers you, where you get that reaction or that feeling. So yeah, I just love touching in with people that have these gifts. So if you could share with us, because I just do find it so neat that you kind of went from real estate and that kind of work. And when I read your website, you talked a little bit about how you realized you were already using your gifts, through the years, helping people zoom in on what it is they really wanted in a home and, what would fit them. And so I think that's kind of really interesting. Can you just share anything?
And that's a good point that you bring up. I think there's a lot of people out there that are like me with regards to having an intuitive sense, that have their own, we all have these abilities. Okay. I'll make that clear. There's nobody that is so special they have it and you will not. It's just a matter of what stage is it at for you? How much have you developed it in previous lifetimes? How much you bring forward and how much you develop it now. So everybody has these abilities. Mine were not really like in my face. It was more like a second sense to me. And I thought everybody was naturally this way. And I, especially with my training in real estate for that much time, I thought part of that was because of my experience in real estate. But in looking back, I realized that, yeah, these intuitive gifts really, they did help me. And they did work for me. And I was able to overcome, I was able to be willing to put information out there to people that came from within me. It was not unusual. We used to have these real estate books that had all the listings. This is before the computerized data. The internet data was so available. So we would have these books that would come out every 2 weeks that would have printings of all the new listings. And it was not unusual that I would be going through a book with somebody or on my own, but I could be going through a book with a client and I would just put my finger down on a particular property and I'd say something to like, we need to go see this house, or this is the house you're looking for.
That's funny.
But I thought that was part of my job and training, it wasn't like, oh, I'm psychic, so this is the one you should buy. It was more like, well, I just know this is the one this is the one you're looking for. And that helped me many, many times over the years. And, it was great because people just thought I was the greatest realtor in the world. I could find something so quickly for them.
Yeah. No, but that's how it works, right? I mean, it's almost like, obviously, spirit, when you came into this world, that was definitely a real strong gift of yours, and it just got used in that field of work, like it does for most of us, or not most, but a lot of us who, like you said, you look back and you realize now, oh, my gifts were already operating. They were already, being used.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting because another thing I believe can be a challenge for a lot of people is learning how to blend and use your gifts with real life, and not have it be, well, this is what I do psychically or spiritually, and then this is what I do in real life. It helped me to be aware now of how these things blended so comfortably.
Yeah.
And I can bring that experience now into this. That sun's getting in my eyes, so I hope it's not really.
No, I see that. I see it kind of looks like it shifted a little bit. Yeah, I don't know if you're okay. We can see you, but I do see it a little bit brighter. Yeah, there you go. Okay, there you go. Yeah. Kind of a change there. I definitely agree with everything you're saying. I think we often do tend to somehow look at that as a separate thing, like, I'm now a psychic medium, or I'm now. Yeah, I agree with you. A lot of people, and this could help a lot of people who struggle with understanding that, is most of us really are already doing that kind of stuff. We're already picking up the phone when we knew that, a friend's calling, and we weren't aware of that friend, but we had a feeling that this person was going to call, and you pick up the phone and it's that person. So really, you're right. I think it's just, I guess, more and more people are wanting to become more out there in the world as more of a psychic or medium or channeler, separating that from whatever regular work they may have been doing. Do you know what I mean?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, and I actually, part of it, I think part of it is because I do feel as time is moving on, and I noticed this way back in the year 2000, there was almost like, I remember specifically John Edwards crossing over, who was the teacher of my teacher that taught me about how to do tarot readings and got into all of this. After he was on TV in the year 2000, for me, that's when I saw an explosion after the year 2000, where you were hearing it on the radio and you were seeing stuff on TV, just all this different stuff about psychic abilities and mediums. And it's like it just, evolved very quickly. And I think it's going to keep doing that, because I think the world right now is in a state of such an influx, that so many people are leaving the earth, as we all know, from the COVID and many other, world situations where a lot of people are leaving the earth. And, we all basically know when people, a lot of souls are leaving their bodies and going to the other side, there's a reason for all of that, and I think you're finding more people in the world that might not have really either understood or felt comfortable or really didn't even like this whole stuff that psychic and mediums do, or even have a real issue with it, actually, that they are opening up. More and more people, more than ever before, is opening up to this kind of understanding of people that do this work, right?
Yeah, I think in a way, and you're bringing up a really good point. I feel that a huge contributor to the expansion of, I'm going to say awareness, not just spiritual awareness, but awareness, because spiritual awareness kind of, I think, pigeonholes it. I do. I think that this metaphysical awareness, this belief system, has been allowed to grow because the communication in the world has gotten so much stronger now. Our ways of communicating and being able to connect to other cultures and other belief systems and other people and teachings, especially during a pandemic, the teachings, the outcome of what you're looking for. Look at holistic medicine and how that has grown just in the last 20, 25 years. if you had said 50 years ago, which was only 1970, that you were going to a holistic doctor, you might as well have said, I'm going to a witch doctor.
Right,
People would have been,
right,
what is that? Are you crazy? And
yes,
that has changed
right,
immensely.
true.
And so I really feel it's because of the ability for us to communicate for so many people on such a wider level and share
That's interesting. I never
experiences.
thought of that. I mean, that's a good point. I feel like I hear you saying because our world in itself has, after the year 2000 or whatever, has really exploded in technology, and the communication avenues have opened up worldwide, as we know, that it's almost some way triggered or opened up our spiritual centers. Is that what I think you're saying? It's almost
Yes.
like, yeah, that's interesting. I would never have thought of it that way. Yeah.
Yep. So the internet has allowed for us to connect with one another in ways that we never had possible before.
Mm-hmm.
You can get online and speak to a psychic in Australia
Mm-hmm.
or in China,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. You can attend a class in China.
Right.
You can get online and read about other people's experiences. You can find out about new techniques and modalities. You can hear and read about stories. It is not just a form of entertainment anymore.
Right.
Now people have access to information to help them with attainment. And
Yes.
that's a wonderful thing. It really
Yes.
is a wonderful thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think anytime that we are able to reach across I was just going to say reach across the galaxies, which I do believe we're moving in that direction as well. We're not just, opening up all these communication avenues in the physical world, but more and more, across the galaxies where, people are just becoming more and more, it's interesting though. And I'm hoping maybe the last 15, 20 minutes, we might be able to have you channel a little bit, because I thought it'd be interesting for maybe some to be able to experience it. But I guess I'm asking that because part of me, some of my interest is about, it's interesting how the world, or I don't know if I want to say our country or the world, but there's, such a split, of, it's so interesting. It's such a split in the world's mind, and I do believe that we're all one mind, basically. We all come from one source. And yet, though, that I know down deep is true, it's almost like, how do we have such a divide in that one source mind, if you will, if you do believe that we all come from the oneness of spirit and whatever your idea of God is, So I was just kind of didn't know if that's something we can step into. What was the name of your channel guide?
Enos. ENOS. And
Okay.
I actually Googled the name. I had to. It's like, oh, that's an unusual name.
Mhm.
And he is referenced in the Bible as a grandson of Adam, and the firstborn son of Seth. And he lived 700 plus years. So, but understand this when it comes to spiritual teachers,
Mhm.
ascended masters, and this and that. There's not just one lifetime there's not just one lifetime that creates that identity for them. Okay.
Mhm.
It is many, many, many lifetimes and experiences. It's just that he chose this out of his many lifetimes. He chose this one in which to identify himself to me as, and that's how we communicate and connect. But I can't just say, oh, I'm, some people will say I'm channeling Mary Magdalene or I'm channeling Jesus, but
Mhm.
understand that that's a name to a conglomerate of
Yes.
lifetimes, experiences, and all of that together. That's just the name you're connecting to. So they may be connected to Mary Magdalene, but not just of what you know of her from reading in the Bible or other historical texts. there's much more depth to that. She did not live just one lifetime.
Right. And, I'm so glad you're bringing this up, because that's my area that I really just love. I mean, for whatever reason, I'm really drawn to that whole, and I'll try not to make the whole conversation about this, because that is my area that I love. I do understand that. I do know a lot of people who aren't into a lot of this are really struggling to understand that. It's so easy for me to understand that we have so many lives, and what happens is that essence of that life that you do over and over and over again when you come to Earth, and actually we have other galaxies as well, but if we're just talking about the Earth dimension, right, that essence of us, yes, we have these names, but that particular essence of that soul that comes back again and again has had, like you said, a variety and a collective amount of lifetimes of what they're about or what their mission was, and like you said, their names. I mean, it's really funny, because it's like, do you understand that Mary Magdalene had another lifetime, and that wasn't most likely her name? Do you know that Jesus had lifetimes? I think it's such a. And then, I know I get some people, and this is people that are really kind of struggling with it. Like, how do you really know that's true? You get into that kind of,
Wow.
So it's really, really, I think for most people that are maybe listening to this right now, that maybe are really not really kind of understanding this kind of thing, I think it's like anything else. I think for most people, I share that you really do have to have some kind of a wanting to even open up to some different understandings of this sort of thing, right? And that, a name is a name that does have an energy or vibration to it. We do actually include what name we want to choose each time we come into a lifetime, or what would best serve us of that energy or that name. But yeah, I could talk to you all about the whole thing of that, because I understand it, completely in the way of what you are saying. So yeah, I hear when people say I'm channeling this, or I agree with you. I mean, it's really a collective energy, that's come and go on
this collective. Yes.
Yeah.
And you brought up a lot of good points and suggestions, and I would like to preface all of this to say that I'll say we, but this is collectively.
Yeah.
I'm not here to try and prove anything or to change your mind on anything. I'm here and doing this to bring information to you that you did not have previously, and to provide, Enos and I work together to help provide counsel and guidance to those that are seeking it. We don't just arbitrarily say, oh, you should do that or you should do this. There is a big difference between a psychic, a medium, and a channeler. Psychics you go to because you want to know about the future. Am I going to meet somebody? Am I going to get married? What you want to know? And I'm going to say basically about the future. Okay. Should I take this job or not? A medium is someone who speaks and brings through connection to loved ones who have passed on, and also guides and higher beings. But a medium will listen, and then the medium is the one that shares or translates.
Yeah, they're the translator, right? They translate.
Perfect.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
They're the conduit. A channeler, and I get asked a lot of questions that really are can be considered more psychic related. And I know that that's because people don't understand maybe the difference. And so they think that they're going to get information about, they don't ask this, but what lottery number should I play? This is not what typically a channeler, that information they bring forward. And it depends on who they're channeling for what information does come forward. But they're not typically psychic readings that I have found. And if you think about with there may be some psychic thoughts in there, but there's nothing not real definite. That would be more psychic. But if you think about conversations you may have heard of or read about channeling Mary Magdalene or Jesus, they're not giving you psychic readings. That's not
right. No,
Yeah.
right. I totally get that. It really, for me, channeling is bringing, to me, when I hear channeling, for me, it's about understanding usually some very more higher uh, pieces of, not pieces, but the truth of what is happening. And usually, typically, it has to do with world affairs, or it could be your own personal life where you're at in your evolving, your soul, or it's just more of a, I find more, like you said, information that is not so much of a psychic in the way of, am I going to have a large family? Those kind of questions. It is more of information that's helping you to just, I feel for me, like I want to know things like, I've heard over the years, like leading up to 2027, this is kind of the questions I always ask more channel messages of, that there was going to be a lot more environmental changes, meaning pretty dramatic after 2027, where there's going to be a really, we're going to recognize more of a shift in the earth, literally the earth's environment. So they're the kind of things that I'm always, talking with when I hear about channels, that kind of stuff, because that's what I'm interested in, right? I'm interested in, the world's environment. And, I've heard, that we're going to have more environmental changes because of the shift that's happening. So that's kind of stuff that I find a lot of channels bring through information, which of course I am going to ask Enos that.
Well,
because it's always,
if you want, a couple of things with regards to Enos and where this information comes from or what happens here. Sometimes when questions get asked of him, and they can be personal or they can be on a bigger scale, however it is, but when questions get asked of him, he takes a few moments to consult with others that are working with him. And he works with the oracles. Okay. He says they help him, and they help him with disseminating, calculating time involved, if people want to have a time frame involved. And keep in mind, he's giving you the information based on conditions today.
Yes.
All right. Everybody has that free will. And so if they decide to go a different way, it could change.
Yes.
And also not wanting to give you information. He doesn't just feed you the answer. He wants to offer counsel and guidance, but for you to be able to understand better that what he's offering up is to assist you with your growth. Because whatever choices you make in your life are not wrong choices, and they all are to help you with your growth. But if you are going to someone expecting a defined answer to or a resolution to an issue that has been on your mind or concerns you have, you may find with channeling you're not going to get a defined answer because you're going to get guidance in order for you to use your free will to make decisions for yourself.
Right.
Sometimes when we hear defined things like, well, you're going to meet a man in 2 years and get married and have 3 kids. Well, now that's in your head. You didn't have that information. So what are you going to do with that? What do you think mentally you're going to start doing with that?
Right.
You're digesting this as, well, this is the truth, or this is possible, and oh, I don't have to do anything, then this is going to happen. This is not typically how I work with Enos and channeling, and you may find other channelers who are working with higher energies. They want you to participate in the thought process. Now, Enos does give you assistance and perspective to areas that you might not have considered, but he's not going to just feed you the information. He always laughs and he says, well, that would be like cheating.
Right.
There are things you have to learn, and there are steps you have to go through and participate in order to make these things happen.
Right.
So, but let's go back. I just wanted to clear the air on that. Let's go back to what you were saying. You brought up an interesting point about that you have felt, and excuse me, you understand, we close our eyes to get more connected. You understand this. Just give me a moment here. Ms. Sherri, you have connected with and this is Enosh, and thank you on allowing us this opportunity in which for us to speak and share with you these thoughts and and discussion of ideas and possibilities. You brought up about a shift going on globally with the planet and the environment, correct? This is what
Yes,
you were
that is
referencing?
correct, Enos.
Okay. We would like to broaden that thought process in understanding that you and your environment are connected. Humanity is not separate from its environment, and your environment can be as small as your home, not, but you understand, as small as your home, but also as large as your planet and even larger as your universe. So when you speak of a shift globally with the environment, understand that there will be a shift in consciousness that is occurring simultaneously with this. There will not be a shift in the environment which triggers a shift in consciousness, human consciousness, our thinking and thought process. It is going to occur simultaneously. So you will be having shifts going on, but it will be more evidenced in an environment in which there are physical things involved that you see physical change to. But the shift in consciousness is not going to be of a physical nature that you will be able to see and identify. You may not even be able to feel it, but it will be like this. You know how a tsunami starts, correct? A tidal wave? It starts small at the bottom of the ocean, and then it builds, and then it becomes big. This is how the shift in consciousness is going to occur. Okay. And that's why you won't be able to sense it as much as the shift in the global environment. You understand?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. That makes complete sense about what you said about, which is interesting. The world's consciousness and the environment are one. So therefore they directly affect one another. I do get that. I guess what and I know everything is always a somewhat of a projection, if you will, because like you said, and I firmly believe that from this moment in time, it's wherever we put our energies collectively and our thoughts collectively that creates the outcome. So I understand and I do believe in all of that. Again, I guess this is one of those kind of things that I just enjoy. I don't get hung up on it, but I kind of enjoy the trajectory, if you will, that from all of what I've been in tuned with only by way of hearing from others and feeling, that it just seems that maybe this decisiveness that I see happening in the world today, this kind of two-minded feeling where it seems we're split on some sense. I know on some level there's talk always about how a group of people can put their minds together and stop a hurricane from happening. So I guess I was just thinking more that as time moves on, if our collective right now, which seems right now to be pretty divided on some level, in the way that humans do, I guess I didn't know if there was, from what I heard after, 2027, where the actual land mass of the Earth, of the planet, would be changing, meaning we would be losing some countries, some states, within our country and around the world, some countries where that will shift and be changing. So I don't know if I just threw a lot out there, but that's kind of where I have been focused.
Well, okay, but we would like to. All right, we would like to recommend to you to somewhat shift your focus, Ms. Sherri, into the awareness that the realization that whatever may happen with the shifting of land masses and the change in the geography of this globe, and it all pertains to climate, etc. Okay, to recognize the future of this world, it would be helpful for you to look at its history. And everything that you speak of has already happened.
Yes,
and
correct.
Continues to happen.
Yes,
so
correct.
What changes will occur in the future? They are going to occur because this is the history of this planet, that this does happen. So sometimes we feel that the human perspective, the human focus, tends to be rather what is this? When
pigeonholed or tunnel vision. Yeah.
Thank you. Perfect.
Yeah.
Tunnel vision. So we feel that many times the human mind tends to have this tunnel vision, and as a result, you focus on words or comments about this will happen or this will occur. Well, we say to you, of course it will. Of course it will. And so to focus energy on it, to think or worry about it, or to prepare yourself for these things is a moot point. A moot point. Because first of all, you will be living a lifetime, probably when there are going to be major changes, you will be living a different lifetime. You will be living in a different place. You will have different responsibilities, and it may not affect you at all. And if it does affect you, then that's not going to end. It's not going to end your world. All right? Because you know that there are many lifetimes that you will be coming back. So as things change, humanity will adapt.
Yes.
We always have, and we always will. And as far as the your awareness of the separation that is occurring, that too has always been a part of life on this planet. Always. Think to history to help you feel more secure that yes, that happened, but we're still here. We're still a planet. We're still, and we learn from these things that occurred. You bring this up because it is more predominant now to you based on your geography of where you are. And we say the politics because this is a contemporary issue that you are emotionally feeling and being impacted by this. So it is forefront in your thought process.
Yes.
This has occurred in other countries many, many times, many lifetimes, other nations, other politics, continually. Yet civilization survives it. Civilization grows from it and learns from it.
Yeah.
That's why these things occur.
I totally agree. I just said to somebody the other day or this morning, I said, no matter what happens in the world, the universe or God or whatever your idea is, it always brings to humanity the next step or evolution or push or whatever it is in order to move it along. I mean, I completely agree with that. And I wish we had a lot more time, but it goes so quick. And so there's definitely more that I would even, go into and ask about that because that is my interest. And I do know that throughout centuries and the planet, we have gone through all these types of changes, because there really is nothing new under the sun, except for the fact that I would think we are typically always evolving upward. So we can't say we're really at the same place that we were, so many centuries ago on one hand, because I would imagine, from what I understand, we are always evolving on an upward motion, even though it can be very slow or could be stagnant at times. But the planet itself, right, goes through continual rebirths over and over and over again. That was really helpful, and I can see everything that you're sharing. That makes sense to me.
Of course,
I guess,
there is so much more. There is obviously so much more. This is not a simple answer or a simple solution, but we would like you, Sherri, before we leave, view this planet as a schoolroom. For your
I'm very familiar.
To learn.
I'm very familiar that's what it is. Believe me, I'm very aware. I've been around a long time, so I definitely get how that works. I think just more like how I personally, my own self, feels that I've been seeing for quite a long time, actually, where this kind of system that we're living in, meaning the planet's, our country, if I want to talk specifically, our governmental system that we have, I just have been seeing for a few decades now, that was going to change dramatically, that we are going to move into a really much more different kind of a human life functioning, because I don't feel this type of governing we've had for the last couple centuries or century, whatever it's been, has been really working. So these are like all the big questions I always, kind of think about, just because I enjoy thinking about it. But I love how you put it about, obviously if we all tunnel vision and focus on something, then we are going to create that. So that makes perfect sense to me, not to get locked into how is our planet future going to look in 5, 10, 20 years. Because you're right. I think, if we do that, too much, we may not realize there's other things that are going to come into the picture, that are going to, so this topic I could talk about all the time. But I want to thank you for coming through for us and channeling, that information. And I know it's much bigger than that, and we all know there's so much more to it. But you just kind of really gave us just a glimpse of a little bit of the story of, that this earth has been going around and around. And, there is really, nothing new that's not, already happened. I mean, that's perfectly understands, So I want to thank you. That was like really special. And I always do have my guests come back on every so many months. I just want to let you know, both to you, Michelle and Enos, because I like my audience to get to know the people that I have on the show. I don't like to do just a one-time typically, because I like people to really get to know my guest. So I do want to thank you and say we'll definitely be doing this again if you're interested. And I do want you to share again. Yeah, I would like you to share again how people can get a hold of you. I think my manager, Tiffany, wonderful. She always helps us. She put it on the screen here. But I do have an audience in Florida who is not online, some of them, and they're just listening through their radios or in their homes or cars, and they're not seeing the screen. So if you could actually share again how people can get a hold of you, that would be really wonderful.
Great. All right. My website is michellemedium.com. Pretty easy.
Perfect.
And then my email is michelle@michellemedium.com.
Perfect.
I have my phone number that I can be contacted at on my website.
Okay. Very simple. michellemedium.com. For all those that want to connect with Michelle and just speak with her about, different things that you might want to, get more clarity on, or just connect with her. That's, I just really appreciate you coming on. And anybody that did not clearly get some of this information, you can also contact me at imaginepeacenow.com. And I will be more than happy to give you the information of all of Michelle's information so you can connect with her. So thank you, Michelle. I so appreciate hearing about your life discoveries and, you know, how you.
Oh, I'm pretty normal.
I know, right? It's like, well, you know, this is it. This is what I came here, you know.
Yeah, Sherri, it's been a real pleasure, and I do look forward to coming back and having more discussion with you. And yeah, thank you very much for inviting me.
Great. Yeah, it's been a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to. And again, I want to thank you personally for the message that I received from you. And then my grandmother is just very, very dear to me, and I'm amazed at how you just literally brought through her behavior so clearly. I'm like, oh my God, that's exactly how she was. So thank you for that. Okay, so we're going to wrap up another show of Secrets of the Universe. And I just want to thank my audience for tuning in every week. We're just going to keep having these shows about variety of topics so that, you know, I just feel it's important that we keep showing how different people are moving about in the world, especially in the times that we are right now. It's just nice to hear, you know, the passion and people's different ways their life is intertwining with their ways of getting around what's happening in the world, you know, whether it be the COVID or whether it be the politics or whether it be the earth, you know, changes that are happening. So I just really hope that we can just keep bringing these shows to you that will maybe uplift you or give you some new awareness about something, or and hopefully some of my guests, you can make a connection with them. And I hope it just brings some peace. So I thank you for tuning in. I like to say one of my sayings is follow the path so divine for you, designed for you. And thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Take care.
Become a Goldylocks Productions VIP patron. Receive exclusive access to live stream special and other epic perks. Join the Goldylocks Productions VIP